convention just opened a little while ago, so it's still filling in, but people are coming. My booth's there. I want to give you an eagle-eye view of everything. This is where they do the professional photo ops. Just saw the flash go off. You can pay and get a photo with a nice background with your favorite celebrities. Lots of great people. Venus Flytrap is right over there from WKRP in Cincinnati. Danny Lloyd from The Shining is over here. So just a tremendous assortment of horror guests and other types. Tim Reed from WKRP was also in It, which is what people here are looking at him for. But for me, he's Venus Flytrap. But yeah, here's how everything's set up today. Oh, fantastic. That's the best movie. You wipe the knife off? Thank you so much. I love that. Teletubbies. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Tinky Winky. Good to see you guys. You look great. Well, hello. My name's Guy Hutchinson. I do a YouTube channel every day called Pointless Nostalgia. New video every day, so cover lots of different stuff. Today, what I'm covering with you guys is we're going to be talking about some spooky rides. I love theme parks. We're going to start off talking about the Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion is one of my favorite rides. My favorite ride is It's a Small World, which I thought would not go over as well at Nightmare Weekend, so that's why we're starting off with Haunted Mansion. Walt designed this one. This Haunted Mansion was the one in California. Walt wanted it to look pristine and nice and not creepy at all on the outside. And his idea was, you know, we'll take care of the outside and the ghosts can take care of the inside. And so he didn't want it to look like a haunted house. He wanted it to look like a nice, beautiful building, and it did. The one in Florida is a bit more creepy, not much, but a little bit more creepy on the outside. This is a pretty cool picture here. This is what it looks like when you see those dancers and they're dancing around in the ballroom. The way they do it is they have these weird day-glow mannequins. They have them on a turntable, and you're watching a reflection of them, and that's why they're painted those colors, so that the mirrored reflection. It's a trick that is called Pepper's Ghost, but the guy who invented it was a guy named Durkinson. They were both like magicians, you know, 150 years ago. But Pepper, the magician who had the last name Pepper, used it, had learned it from this other guy, and when people started calling it Pepper's Ghost, he was like, no, it is not. It is Durkinson's effect, and he never wanted people to call it Pepper's Ghost. But nonetheless, 100 years plus later, that's what it's always called. So it's named after a guy who used it very well. But what it is basically, it's a very, very simple old technique. When I was a kid, there was a show called Mr. Wizard's World. And Mr. Wizard was kind of like Bill Nye the Science Guy. And he showed how to do this with a box, a mirror, and 2 items. And it's pretty simple, but basically you're reflecting a mirrored image off the glass. That's why, by the way, if you watch the dancing scene, the men are not leading. The women are all leading the dance, because they set it up and then they show it in reverse. So you actually have the women are leading in that. Here is the old grandma that's in the rocking chair in that scene. Now, crazy thing about this grandma, she's in another Disney attraction. Does anybody know? Ooh, back of the room. Carousel of Progress, yes. I don't think I could throw a thing of candy that far. You're a little too far, but I'll get it to you at some point. It's here for you. Yes, in the Carousel of Progress, there's the grandma. So there she is in the Carousel of Progress, and then after she died, they moved her into the Haunted Mansion. It makes sense, though, that she would die. Like, I, as a kid, would watch that attraction. I'd be like, how is this dog living for all of these decades? Like, they're like, well, what year is it? Well, it's 40 years later now. We still have Rover. He's still keeping the drip pan from overflowing. You're like, what the hell are you feeding that dog? The kids don't grow up on that attraction, but the daughter disappears completely. So if you watch the Carousel of Progress, early on, she's doing the laundry. She's like, oh, it's my new wash day marvel. And she's got the little girl helping her, right? And then in the next scene, Little girl's gone. You just have the little brother and the older sister. So the little girl disappears. Now I've had people be like, oh, maybe it was a neighbor's kid. I don't know about you, but I never had, when I was a kid, I never was like, I'm gonna go over and do laundry with the lady next door. So I'm thinking, tragedy befell them. The Carousel of Progress, by the way, is the only attraction in Disney World where they are celebrating Halloween every day. They do not celebrate Halloween every day in the Haunted Mansion, but in the Carousel of Progress, you got this little pumpkin, and he talks about how it's Halloween time, and Jimmy says he's using his sister's face as a model for his jack-o'-lantern. He also has a poster for the Universal monster movie, The Wolfman, in his room, which is kind of neat because Disney, of course, is competing directly with Universal there, but Jimmy doesn't care. Jimmy's like, hey, look, Disney, if you had put out a better scary movie I would put that up. The stuff that I'm always nostalgic about is the little changes that we have to our daily life that we don't realize. And there are some things that were totally different about trick-or-treating in the 80s than today that people don't even remember because it's such a gradual arc and change. And I'm talking tomorrow about the 90s with Halloween, and there's a lot of changes from the 80s into the 90s and how kids trick-or-treated and the time period. So, Ben Cooper, this was a privately held American company that made what we called the box costumes. These were the most common costume for people to be wearing from the 1930s until maybe the 1990s. They kind of were phased out in the 90s. The company actually went out of business in the late 80s, but there were other companies, but Ben Cooper was the big one. And what you would get inside of this was a very flimsy plastic mask that would barely make it through the Halloween night. You know, like today, I have Halloween costumes that I've worn years and years ago, and I put them in a box and put them in the garage or whatever, and you can dig them up and rewear them whenever you want. These things you could not. You wore them once, and by the end of the night, the mask was, the string had broken. There was like a rubber band that went around the back. That broke almost immediately. You'd rip this plastic jumpsuit that you were wearing, and your mom, especially in the 80s, would cut giant holes in it. Like they would give you eye holes and a little mouth, little tiny slit for you to breathe. And mom would always say, well, I heard that you're supposed to cut this out bigger. And so she'd take like scissors or a knife and make it bigger. And then all of a sudden the mouth hole's enormous and looks weird and people could see your lips through it. And as a kid, you put on that costume, you really think you're fooling people. Like when you're a kid, you put on that costume, you're like, they're gonna totally think I'm really Mickey Mouse. That's what they're gonna think I am. Here, by the way, look at Mickey Mouse. Look how cool Mickey Mouse is. Mickey Mouse is like ready to do the gritty or something. He's like...
I didn't know he wore a big shirt with his picture.
Now here's the thing. So you mentioned this, you're like Mickey's wearing a shirt with his own picture on it. So I had always seen this and I was always like, this is the dumbest thing, right? You'd get this plastic smock and it would be a shirt and pants all together. You'd kind of pull it up like a jumpsuit and it would have a picture of Mickey Mouse and it would say Mickey Mouse on it. And you'd be like, that's not what Mickey wears. Mickey doesn't wear a shirt that has a picture of him that says who he is. But I realized why this was when I got older, because I answer the door now, and now today they don't wear these, right? Kids don't wear these, they wear a full costume. And I look at them, I don't know who the hell any of them are supposed to be. I have no clue. I'm like, I don't know what this is. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, are you Mortal Kombat? And they're like, what is Mortal Kombat? And I'm like, all right. Thought I might have it. And they're like, no, I'm from, the video game Jippity, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, I've never heard of it. I don't know anything because I'm a grown-up. I'm not a little kid. But that was for the people answering the door. The grandma that opened the door would be like, oh, you're supposed to be Mickey Mouse and you're, and she'd look on the thing and be like, okay, you're from Battlestar Galactica. It would give the parent or the person opening the door an idea of who you were. I still can't get over Mickey's like, it looks like he's ready to, I don't know what he's gonna do, maybe that thing with the knees. They have a tattoo section in here. Not looking to get one today, but there are a lot of people very into tattoos, and I figured I'll show you a little bit of this. So you can get your tattoos here. You can pick out, they have all kinds of designs. You can actually get tattooed right here at the convention, which is pretty great. I've been to Spooky Empire, which does the same kind of thing, and I always thought that was pretty neat. My booth is right back this way. Always walking to work, this is the absolute best way to do it. And here is where my table is. There it goes. I saw this yesterday, but I didn't get up close enough to see that he actually talks and sings. And they have like a whole graveyard set up here where you can pose for pictures. I told you the Wild Stallions van is here, as well as some Ghostbuster vehicles, and then some killer clowns over here. The Chioda brothers, who did Killer Clowns from Outer Space, they are here. But you can pose for pictures with these. This is a little spooky. And of course, they always have the backdrop. You want to do your red carpet picture. Look at this. There you are. You're on the red carpet at Nightmare Weekend. Though there's no carpet, but you know what I mean. I didn't even see this. This clown is alive. That's fantastic. There's some great cosplay over here. I think it's Five Nights at Freddy's. And I don't know what, it's Wicker Man or something. I'm not sure what that is. There's the Only Zool. Look at this big spider. That is cool. Look at that. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I love that staff. Thank you.
And how many of you have been to the Pub Museum recently? And the rest of you, what have you been doing with yourselves? Get on down there. It's less than a mile down the hill, down at 20th and East Main. And we're the world's finest collection of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff. So we've got the pop culture items, the movie posters, comic book art, comics, but also 19th century artifacts. And I guess Poe needs no introduction. He's been thrilling and chilling readers since 1827. So he lived from 1809 to 1849. And we do have a large collection of Poe-themed artwork. This is an original drawing by James Carling, who back in 1882 tried to illustrate The Raven line by line. It's a 100-line poem. And he was so obsessed with Poe that while he worked on the poem, he said he merged with Poe's consciousness and Poe's spirit possessed him. And the artist's niece was watching as he worked and said he started to resemble Poe and take on his appearance as he worked on these illustrations. When they're finally finished, nobody would publish them. They're a little bit too intense. There's one drawing that has a nude woman decapitated and her dead baby decapitated lying next to her in a pool of blood. And that's not the stuff that's going to get published in the 1880s. So the artist ended up dying penniless at the age of 29 and buried in a mass grave. And his brother held on to all these illustrations in a big trunk. And during the Great Depression, people were selling off their memorabilia, and they heard about the Poe Museum. There's the artist's niece, the one who watched him work on the drawings, had the trunk. She'd inherited it, so she ended up selling them all to the Poe Museum. So that's the story behind that little drawing. We also have artwork by Edmond Dulac, who's a French illustrator. Here's Greg Hildebrandt. But you see, Poe, he sort of pops up everywhere in popular culture. You'll see him in the comics. This one takes a little while. But of course, on The Simpsons, in addition to the Raven episode, there's also the Telltale Heart episode. And how does a 19th century writer who died in 1849 know they've really made it? When they're an internet meme with kittens. I was never kinder to the old man than I was for the whole week before I killed him.
Here's another look at the Richmond Coliseum. I know we looked at it yesterday. They've got this big fence in front of it. I've walked up close to it, but can't get any closer than that fence. I like they even have where to go for the box office right there. Reminds me a lot of the Louisiana Superdome. It's very similar shape, much smaller. It's a much smaller place, but there it is. Somebody's gone in there and tagged all these wooden boards. It's completely boarded up. Moved a little bit over for a more direct shot of it. You can see it real good here from the second floor. Just keep thinking this may be the very last time I ever see it, so it'd be nice to take a good look at it. Historic venue, as any venue like this tends to be. You get big names that go there over the years, and this was certainly open for many, many years and saw just about every top artist you can think of, all kinds of sporting events.
It's a game of his own. One by one, the cast and crew are snatched, beaten, and dragged to a bloody death. The few left alive must figure out how to beat the wrestler at his own deadly game or die trying. The WrestleManiac. The next one I actually watched last year. The Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre.
I've not seen this one, so sorry, I can't vouch for it.
So not only have I seen this, I actually interviewed the Manson Brothers for my podcast, the Milo Beasley Show. It was a lot of fun. The movie is campy, super campy. Features Randy Couture as a wrestler, because why not have an MMA guy who's never wrestled be a wrestler? So, but yeah, Manson Brothers, Midnight Zombie Massacre, available for free, I believe, also on the Tubi.
Well, that'll bring this day to a close. This has been quite a weekend. I've been really enjoying every bit of it. Tomorrow morning, gonna do some fun stuff then. We got the final day of Nightmare Weekend. So you'll see that, and then got some cool things I'm going to be seeing on the way back to New Jersey. So we got several more days of goodness here. So make sure you come back every day at 2 o'clock. There's always something new every day, 2 o'clock. And right now, box is over here and one over here. Choose one of them. Take you to a nice, great adventure. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow while you click. Bye, 2 o'clock.